Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Sidebar Social. I'm your host, Jennifer Grinke.
So I'm your co-host.
You're my co-host.
All right, I'm Dana Stewart. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So what are we going to get into today?
So today we're going to get into something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. We're going to talk to a step-parent, and I feel like we don't often get that perspective because they're kind of people in the background of the cases.
Yeah.
And so I'm also a step-parent. You know that.
You are?
Yeah.
I'm finding out so many things.
I
Okay,
am.
I'm your co-host. You're a step-parent. Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to get her perspective. We have Tori Bradburry on today.
Okay. Welcome, Tori.
Hi, thanks
Hi,
for
Tori.
having me. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
It's been too long. It's been too long.
I know. I'm so glad I get to see you.
Same. Thanks for having me.
I do think the step-parent role, though, is often overlooked or even undervalued.
Yeah.
So I know you're a step-parent. We have a step-parent in my house. Like, I grew up with a step-parent. So I think it's good to have you on to bring a personal touch to this and get into your backstory.
Okay, so Tori, you and your husband were clients of mine, and we went through a modification of a custody schedule a few years ago. At the time it started, you had a stepson. He was around 3, and now he's around 8. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Kind of coming into that, I mean, what was your role, or how did you feel coming into the whole thing? Were you surprised by anything?
I wasn't so much surprised. I knew it was something that Josh or my husband wanted to do. When my husband decided that he wanted to, to talk to you guys about his situation, I 100%, we had this conversation way before we actually made the move, because it was something that he really was wanting to do. And when he made the decision to, reach out to you guys, we were already on the same team. We talked about the things that he wanted, that we wanted out of this, what our goals were. And so before initially reaching out to a Grinke firm, he and I had sat down and was like, what do we want? What's the end goal here? And we made sure it was something that my stepson would thrive, where both parents would be involved. We just didn't know what that looked like. And so my husband asked me what my thoughts were, if this was something, what he wanted, is it something that I would want to? And I was 100% on board, because I've been in my stepson's life since he was a baby. I knew nothing different. And as long as, it was something that he would thrive in as well, I was 100% in. The only thing that I will say is, when this first day that we met you and we sat down with you, and something that really stood out, because I thought I would just be sitting there and letting, my husband and you do all the talking.
Yeah.
One thing that stood out was you paused the conversation and, you looked towards me and you asked me, how do I feel about the situation? And is this something that I really want to move forward with? And that was, it was really surprising, because I've never gone through a divorce. I've only been married once. I have no kids. Mm-hmm. So going into this is going in blind. I had no idea what to expect. So for you to pause for a minute and ask me how I felt meant so much, because I had no idea what we were about to go through. But you've been there, this is what you guys do. So that was something that really meant a lot. And the second thing was how you were such a voice in your whole firm. You guys, one of the things that we loved about you guys is that you guys, your biggest thing is being an advocate for the child's voice.
Yeah.
And that was 100% what we wanted. And we felt so comfortable about the situation going in and having you guys as our attorneys, because it became, y'all's firm is so relational. Y'all really do care for the child. And I think that was something that meant so much to us.
Okay, Tori, I want to help clarify for the people listening or watching the backstory here with your situation with your husband and your stepson. So your husband was not previously married to your stepson's mother. Is that correct?
Correct. They dated on and off.
They dated, then they went to court and had court paperwork. Did they end up reaching agreements? Did they have a trial early on?
So the first time, the first go round for their son, it ended in mediation.
Okay.
They had an agreement.
And at that point in time, were you and your husband dating? Were you together?
We were dating,
okay.
Yes, at the time. We were casually dating. It wasn't anything serious. So I was aware of what he was going through.
Right. And how old was your stepson at that time?
He was, I'm going to say, when they reached an agreement, I believe my stepson was around maybe 8 months, 9 months.
so he was young.
He was very young. So
Okay, and so then over the time, you and your not husband then, but your boyfriend at that point in time, you guys got more serious. Then when did you get married? As far as how old was your stepson at the time that you guys got married?
oh man. Okay, so my husband proposed in 2019, I believe, and that's horrible. I don't know, but he proposed. My stepson, I believe, was 2
Okay,
at the time.
and
Yes, he was 2. He was 2 because it was 2020 when we got married, and then COVID hit, and in 2020 when we got married, we were probably. It was my husband. What really sealed this for my husband is he's a first responder and he got deployed. And in our situation, anytime my husband was gone, my stepson would go back to his mom. And so for us, what he already had in place is something that they had been doing already. When my husband came back from his deployment, realizing things needed to change because unfortunately, my stepson wasn't allowed to be with me unless, if my husband was away, his son had to go back to his mom.
right,
And the term I believe is
right,
Yeah.
the right of first refusal.
the right of first refusal. And my husband didn't like the back and forth. He really wanted consistency. So
Yeah, because sometimes it was like 10 p.m. You'd have to get him up, right? Because he's a fireman, so the schedule was different.
yes, it was very different. And my husband really wanted consistency for their son. And so in 2020, my husband had sat me down and asked me, how do you feel? Because I want to fight for, well,
50-50,
He-
equal time.
he wanted 50-50
Yeah.
and custody. And I 100% was on board because, why not? They're both equally there. They both
Right.
equally should be able to spend time with their son.
And at that point in time, I know you mentioned early on a few minutes ago that you and your husband spoke. You were on the same page,
Right.
committed, kind of knew what your goals were. Did you have any idea what that next step was going to look like as far as how it played out with the high conflict of the case?
I didn't because I was going off what they did before, which was we reached an agreement and we moved on.
Yeah.
And so once we reached out to you guys and Jennifer sat me down and said, hey, this is going, I don't know what it's going to look like. Every case is different. But for you guys specifically, I want to know if you're on board. Because if you want 50-50, just so you know, you'll be involved a lot.
Right.
And again, like I didn't know any difference. Like I want to be involved. I love my stepson. Like he's the best. And so I had no idea what was about to happen, and it was just the moment. What should have been what we assumed was a year litigation turned into 3, and so that is just thinking about it, I was like, whoa, got a little choked up. Sorry.
Little PTSD there.
Little PTSD there. But honestly, like I think it's important for step parents to realize that from my specific situation only, this is the only thing I can speak to. It's hard. It's very hard. And there are times where you are like, what did I sign up for? And I think what was important for my husband and I is we had to be locked in. Like we had to be on the same team. There had to be 0 degrees between us because it wouldn't work. And when the highs were high, it felt like we were drowning sometimes, and we were. I think what was important for me as a step parent was to sit back and really ask myself and do some self-inventory here. Like, do I really want this? Is this worth all this struggle and back and forth? And just like, it's heavy. It's just heavy. The only difference is we don't know when this heavy's going to stop.
Right.
So we went in thinking a year. We went in thinking we'll mediate. And mediation turned into 3 mediations, and nothing was ever good enough. And so I wanted to avoid court at all costs. My husband and I both did not want court, because here's the deal. When you go to court, you want war. You want to fight. And we wanted just for everyone to be like, how does this little boy win? And when we go to court, we're not worried about the little boy. Now it's personal. And now we want to fight. And that is a whole other level. And so as a step parent, I wish I had, and it was towards it was the last year of our litigation, I met a fellow step parent who made me feel like I'm not going crazy. You're not alone. This happens more than you know.
Yeah.
And let me pass the baton and let me show you what I've learned.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had her there
Yeah, she sat
both
through the
days in
whole
our
trial.
trials who walked us, the amount of women who I did not know, because again, a lot of step parents don't want to talk about it. They want to sit in their little bubble and think, no, I'll stay in my lane. But you don't have a lane. Your lane is your partner's lane. Y'all have a lane. And I think it's a team. And I consider myself an extension of the team. This boy has a mom. This boy has a dad. I'm just here to love him. I don't need a title. I really don't care if I'm a bonus mom, a stepmom. He knows my role in his life, and that is where my work comes in, to grow and to know who I am as a partner, as a step parent, and know that that is more than enough.
Follow us and join the conversation on Instagram and YouTube at Sidebar Social.
So one of the things you mentioned that I really just caught on to right now was that you had a mentor, because you started recognizing there's challenges throughout this process as the step parent. Can you talk through kind of like some of those challenges and what they were and how you dealt with them?
A few challenges that I can share personally, again, for our situation, was anytime, and this because I've had these stepmoms and moms who have been like, hey, this is just what it is. Anyone that new that comes into the picture, they're just going to make it hard because that's their kid and you shouldn't be there. And that was a struggle for me because all I wanted to do was help. All I want to do is help. All I want to do is for him to see what it looks like for everyone to come together. And it just wasn't an option. So that was it was an extreme struggle for me because I'm all about fixing things and just making things I want everyone to feel good. And it wasn't an option in this situation. Mm-hmm. It was, I want you gone. I don't want you here. This is my son, not yours. You're not the mom. And it was these things that I just kept hearing over and over. And those were struggles because it was things that I wasn't trying to do, nor would I see myself as, because he already has these things.
Yeah.
And so my mentor was phenomenal. Hey, what they say has nothing to do with you. It's nothing personal. And that was hard, was to continuously remind myself, these struggles are going to look and feel, they're going to be big, they're going to be small, they're going to look all sorts of ways. It's just, I get to decide what I respond to. I don't have to participate in every argument that I'm invited to. I don't have to participate to anything that is said about me. It was really, for any step parent, I would pass on, you get to decide what you want to react to. You get to decide what you believe about yourself. You get to decide what's true. Not every thought is real. Yeah. And so that was the work that I was doing in myself, was to make sure I stayed grounded and I really knew who I was and what what our marriage was about and what we stand for. Because my husband had my back, and he could have my back all day long, but if I wasn't believing it in myself, it wasn't going to work. Because this was hard. This was a high conflict case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you just said, how that actually played out in our case was that you were the shining star witness at the trial, because in your heart, and it came out through your words, is all you kept at the front of everything you said was your stepson. You didn't get into the weeds between the conflict between the parties or the conflict, awful things were said about you. You didn't, try to defend yourself. You kept the focus, your stepson. And I feel like the judge recognized that at the end and actually said, hey, the only person who had anything good to say today was the stepmom. And so
scary. He was really scary.
That's hard to do. What you did is hard to do.
I mean, the day you called us and said, no deal, no agreement, we're going to court, I cried straight up. I cried a lot. In the past 3 years, that litigation, because you're like, why are we doing this? And your emotions get so high. It's the up and down. And again, I did a lot of things wrong. I didn't always get it right, but I think that is what is so important for step parents to know, is you won't, and it's okay. Don't beat yourself up, and be yourself. If you're going to get upset and get down on yourself, you're human. That's all fine, but don't live there. We got to move on, because we don't need to, right. And that was something that I had to really fight for. Like, you have to fight for it because you have to remember the other party's letting everyone know why you shouldn't be X or ABC and be at XYZ.
Yeah.
And then you start believing it. Like, am I this? And so the, when, the whole like litigation process, if we didn't have that constant communication with you, like, I don't know where we would be, honestly. Like, you were so great about being very honest and reminding us to, like, the light will come at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's that, like you said, the unknown, the ups and downs. And I don't know how you felt. I guess I'll ask you, but what many clients have said is just like waking up every day in this almost like wearing a weight vest, like I can't breathe, like the scared, like the scared feeling, the anxiety, just like when does it go away, can be almost to the point where I feel like some step parents want to check out of the relationship. Did you ever get to
Is
a
it
point?
worth it?
Yeah. Did you ever
Yeah.
have those thoughts?
Honestly, I did. Me and Josh had a few conversations. It got really hard. And I talked to Jennifer, when we talked to the whole team, like when I was feeling that way, because I've never experienced anything like this. I come from a blended family. And so we never labeled step, or it was just family. And so going into this, it took a major toll on my mental health because I've just never experienced something like this ever. And I think that's what scared me the most, is because I had no control, no say. I would wave a white flag without realizing why. I just didn't want any problems.
Yeah.
And so waking up every day, not knowing if we're going to mediate or if there's something else, like, it was just like this, I felt like there was a constant weight on my chest.
Yeah.
So as part of our case strategy, we involved a parenting facilitator in your husband's case. And I know that you had the opportunity to participate in that process. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like as a step parent being involved in that process?
I was a little nervous because, again, this parent facilitating was between, the two parties.
Yeah.
So when I was asked to come on behalf of the doctor who was holding it, she wanted to meet me. Just because she wanted to figure out all the dynamics. And that meant a lot because, again, step parents, that's not typically normal.
Right.
It was really important for her to get to the root of what the problem or the issue was. And so when she invited me, it was so helpful because I got to ask questions on behalf of myself. Like, is this wrong? Am I overstepping? What can I do better? How can I be better? And that was a game changer, not only for myself, but for our marriage, because we both were getting to learn together how we're going to navigate this process.
Yeah.
And so we were so, honestly, like, so blessed. I mean, Dr. Threets is phenomenal. Can I say her name?
Sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Like,
It is
Dr.
phenomenal.
Threets is phenomenal. She is, I will do anything for that woman, for the amount of life and lessons she has poured into me as a step parent. I will be forever grateful. And I have, one thing that's important too is, like, after the parent facilitation stopped, the work doesn't stop. And that was something that she really wanted to express, like, hey, I've got this time with you guys. I want to see what y'all do after. And so it was because of her is when I began to, like, really get a grip of, like, what my role is, what my strengths are, and what I can just, like, move to the side that's not important.
Yeah.
And I still do the work. It's just important for me, and it's been so helpful.
It seems like you're a very introspective person, which I feel like is a positive attribute in any parent, but especially a step parent role, because it seems like you've really wanted to understand, could I be better? How can I be better? What can I do for my stepson? And to me, it sounds like, and what I've heard from Jen over the years of your case, a parent or a step parent who comes into play, you said that it's not really about you, right? And I think that's so true for many step parents. You could replace them with any number of different people, but those issues will still be the same, but then you start to question, am I wrong here? Did I do something wrong? But I just think, I don't know, I really appreciate your honesty and your willingness to dive deep and try to improve. Even if you're not necessarily doing something wrong, I think that's just, we need more step parents like you out there.
Well, thank
do.
you. I don't have kids, so I wanted to make sure I'm showing up as best as I can. And I think if I had children, because there are a lot of step parents who come into this with kids on each side, like my parents did, So they already had an idea. They're already parents, right? And so I knew nothing. And any way that I could just learn more and figure things out, because I'm so relational, I was taking everything personal, and you can't do that. Like, you really can't. And again, like, regardless of what the other party thought of me, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What matters is what I think about myself and the best way I can show up for my stepson. And that is it.
To learn more about Grinke Stewart family law, visit grinkestewartlaw.com.
Tori, so you were in litigation for 3 years, and this is a high conflict case. I know there were like ups and downs and tears and laughter and everything in the spectrum of emotions. Would you do it again?
Yes, I would.
Wow.
I will get teary-eyed. Sorry.
It's
Why?
okay.
Why do you say that?
Whoa, hold on.
You need a moment. We don't have tissue.
We don't have
here.
Kleenex here because Jen doesn't allow people to cry.
I know. I know this. She's my attorney. She's like, buck up. You're about to get on the stand. I'm like a robot. I would 100% do it again, because I would 1000% do it again, because the sacrifices are now so minuscule. Getting to see my stepson thrive, to see my husband thrive with their relationship. And it's without question. Like, every hard moment now is so small, because we had people in our corner who helped us and walked us the whole way. Like, Josh and I, or my husband and I, didn't cross the finish line with just us. We had a community of people, moms, stepmoms, people that have no kids. Like, people just loved what we were fighting for, and that was for our stepson to have a voice and to be able to spend equal amount of time with him. You know, so many people love him. And so I would do it again without question.
So do you think for people going through a custody battle, especially if step-parent involved, communication with their partner obviously sounds like it was pivotal in your case, right? To get to where you and your husband are now.
Yeah.
But then having a big emotional support group or a social circle to rely on.
Yeah.
Would you recommend that?
Absolutely, because one thing I feel step-parents, stepmoms feel like they're alone. Like, their situation sounds crazy, or, you know, it's a lot, or it's too heavy, and they don't want to be the heavy friend. Like, talk about it, because me talking about it and not being embarrassed about it, I have met so many women, friends who I didn't realize, well, they're my friends now, but other step parents who went and have gone through the exact same situation as us, if not more. Wow. And so to see them thrive, you know, like, and see them living their best life, I know it's possible, but it's like, it's gonna get money for a little bit, and it's gotta be worth it. But it's like, me and my husband, without question, we're like, this is what we want. And maybe not every step parent wants what we wanted, and that's okay.
I know your stepson's thriving. You guys are thriving as a family. And I'm so excited for you. You started your new jewelry business that you've been talking to me about.
Thank you so
throughout
much.
the case.
Yes.
And so what's that called? Tell us a little bit about it.
So I rebranded. I had a jewelry company for 13 years, and then that was one of the sacrifices. We decided to dissolve it during litigation.
Yeah.
And so after, it's been how many years now since we
3
won?
years almost.
Yeah. So I'm now back. This is our first year where we feel like, all right, things are back to normal.
Yes.
And I rebranded and started ToriBradburry.com. And so we have jewelry, and we're going to be transitioning to house and home, or I guess that's the same thing. Sorry, I'm looking.
And you have the jewelry on today,
Yes,
right?
I have my jewelry on today, and I'm really excited. It just feels really good to be in this place again, of like being able to get back to my creative outlet. And I mean, I just feel like now, like we're here, like the sun's shining on us again. And it's just been so nice, and I'm just back to my small business now.
You have so much more energy and ability to focus on these positive
It's
things.
been amazing. Like, my husband and I were talking about it today. Like, we're like, there's some times where we'll just do something, and we're like, we can do that now. We were still trying to live in the past. And we were like, no, we can freely do these things now. Like, we won.
Good for you.
And we're living in freedom. Like, it really does change. Like, it changes everything. And it really allowed me to get back into work and do things that I love, and have the support of my husband, and it just feels like the stars are, finally aligned. So it was nice.
Well, we really appreciate, first of all, congratulations to you, your husband,
thank
your
you.
stepson.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on, opening up, being honest, and hopefully people will hear this and then get the inspiration they need to deal with their situation.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else you have, Jen?
No? Thanks, Tori. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in for another episode of Sidebar Social.
See you later.
Would you like to be our guest?
Or is there someone you would like to see on the show?
DM us through our Instagram at Sidebar Social.
Or from the homepage of our website, sidebarsocialpodcast.com.